if there is someone inside North Korea and they want out of the country, just can you give us even a hypothetical scenario? How do they get out? Are they hidden in the trunk of a car? Are they walking down a road?
No, let me explain. I interviewed many North Koreans and tell their stories and escape from North Korea, and almost all of them go across one of the rivers that borders China. That's the Yalu River or the Tumen River. Let me tell you the story of Joseph Kim, a boy who's now living in the United States. He was 13 years old when his family disappeared. His father died. His mother went to China. And he, after living on the street for a year, he decided to go to China because he was desperate. It was February, and the Tumen River had frozen over. And in the middle of late in the day, when he went to an isolated strip of land, praying that he would not be seen by North Korean border guards, and he ran across the river, slipping and sliding on the ice until he reached the other side. And that's how a lot of people get across. They run across the river when it's frozen, they wade across it, they even swim across it. And of course, people drown, other people are shot and killed, other people are arrested. Not everybody makes it.
And then once someone gets across the river, is that where the Underground Railroad then kicks in to deliver them?
It takes a while, and I'll continue the story of Joseph to explain what typically happens. Joseph arrived at a little village, and he went knocking on doors, and people kept asking for food, and people kept closing doors in his face, sending him away. And finally, at about the 12th house, a man opened the door, let him in, fed him, and then as Joseph was leaving, the Chinese man, who was ethnically Korean, told Joseph that he was a Christian and advised Joseph to go on to the next town where he could find more help. In that town, Joseph was begging, and an old lady came up to him and asked him if he was North Korean and said he should go to a church because church people helped North Koreans. What was Joseph's reply? What's a church? He had no idea what a church was. And so the old lady said to him, look for a building with a cross on it. Joseph did just that. He eventually found his way to a church, and the church, making a longer story short, the church and another church helped him, found him a place to live, and they hid him for a year. And eventually they put him in touch with an American aid organization called Liberty in North Korea, which helped him get out of China on the Underground Railroad.
What do South Koreans think? Explain the day-to-day life of the South Koreans in terms of their view of North Korea. I don't think we Americans, our listeners, we can't appreciate. Would it be like, Kansas and Oklahoma? They're border states, and right across the border is hell.
Yeah.
And in your state is
unbelievable prosperity.
Comparatively speaking, heaven.
Well, consider how isolated North Korea has been. A South Korean who has family in North Korea, perhaps they've been separated since the end of the Korean War in 1953, and there are millions of people for whom this is true. They have no idea what happened to their families because you can't make a phone call to North Korea, you can't send an email message or a Facebook message, and you can't even send a letter to North Korea.
They could be 20 miles away
and not
from
know
their
it.
family, and they don't know what happened to them, and they'll never see them again.
That's exactly right. And so the country has been closed off for more than half a century, even to the extent that their brothers and sisters in the South don't know what is going on. But one of the benefits of the people who've escaped from North Korea is that they are informing the rest of us what life is like there. So now South Koreans, there are about 24,000 North Koreans who live in the South now. And that's a drop in the bucket compared to the 24 million people still enslaved in North Korea, of course. But nonetheless, those people who are living in South Korea are educating South Koreans about North Korea, and they're also humanizing North Korea, I think, for the South Korean people. The South Korean people today can put faces with a lot of North Koreans in a way that even a few years ago they couldn't.
Melanie Kirkpatrick is our guest. Melanie, what's the title of your book and how can people get it?
The book is called Escape from North Korea, The Untold Story of Asia's Underground Railroad. And you can go to my website, melaniekirkpatrick.com, and for further information, and it's sold online at the usual outlets and also in bookstores.
Has there ever been an attempt at a coup in North Korea? Because I'm shocked that there hasn't been.
Well,
the
the extreme control that the Kim family regime has over its people has squashed even even any kind of dissent. However, I think that one of the things that has happened since people have begun to escape in recent years is that they are getting information through clandestine means back into North Korea. And this is a fascinating story. They're sending couriers into North Korea who deliver verbal messages to their relatives. There are North Koreans resident in the South now who have started radio stations, and those radio stations are broadcasting information into North Korea. It's a crime in North Korea to listen to them, but people are doing so anyway. And in any case, the North Korean people are beginning to learn more about the outside world. And I think that's going to have the effect eventually of them demanding more from their government. And they will also they already are beginning to be skeptical, I think, of the regime that tells them that they live in the world's most prosperous, most wonderful nation. I mean, how can they possibly believe that? If they're informed about what life is like next door in China.
Do they have the internet?
No. Only the super elite have access to the internet. And the rest of the population does not. The next level of elite professors have access to computers, but not to the internet.
Cell phones?
Cell phones, there are now about 1 million North Koreans who have cell phones, but the cell phones are programmed so that they cannot make international calls. Instead, some people who live near the near the Chinese border can sometimes secretly get access to Chinese cell phones, and they can capture a Chinese signal and make phone calls outside the country that way.
Melanie, in your book, you talk a little bit, or talk to some degree, about China's bride problem, the North Korean women who are sold into sexual slavery in China. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I described this in the chapter called Brides for Sale. And Stephen Kim, who's a New York area businessman, is the man who described to me in great detail how this works, because he has helped many, many former brides get out of China on the Underground Railroad. Because of China's one-child policy, there's a severe shortage of young marriageable-age women. And so a man who lives along the border with North Korea can place an order for a bride from North Korea. A broker will then, Chinese or ethnically Korean Chinese, will go into North Korea and either kidnap a woman or trick her into going to China. And sometimes she might even go voluntarily, because life is so bad for her that she thinks living with a Chinese man as an unofficial wife is better than anything that she could possibly have in North Korea. But the result is that this has been going on for about 10 years. And so there are a number, nobody knows how many, thousands surely, of North Korean women who are living as the wives of Chinese men. And they have children, of course. And these children are half Chinese and half North Korean. And they are, in effect, rejected by both countries. If a woman is captured by the Chinese police and sent back to North Korea, her children are literally wrenched from her arms, and they don't go back to North Korea with her because North Korea will not accept them. They are tainted because they are half Chinese. And in the Chinese case, the Chinese father will not register the birth of the child with the Chinese authorities, because if he does so, that would mean he would have to expose the existence of the North Korean wife and subject her to possible arrest and repatriation. That means that the kids are growing up without official papers, and without official status in China. They can't go to school, and they can't get medical care. And as I write in my book, it's a growth industry for American and South Korean missionaries in China to help these kids. I visited the one house orphanage run by or overseen by an American couple from Illinois who are in China helping specifically for the purpose of helping these orphans.
20 seconds. Oh, you through? Okay.
I'm done.
Okay, Melanie. Listen, Melanie Kirkpatrick has been our guest. Her book is called Escape from North Korea, The Untold Story of Asia's Underground Railroad. Thank you, Melanie, for your time today.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely.